Well, good morning, and I thought we would just mix it up a little bit. Literally, mix it up. We're going to mix some paint. And I have a little container. It's made out of cardboard. I got it at the dollar store. And you can get them in squares, in rounds, shaped in a heart. And we're going to do a process that's similar to acrylic flow, but we're not using any of the chemical. And so I'm just putting some paint in some styrofoam cups. And then we're going to add a little bit of water to each one and mix them up. But welcome to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. This is Sandy, and this morning we're just going to have some fun. So I'm just pouring it in. I'm actually outside. I have one of my tables set up. I have cardboard down. And then also I have aluminum foil pans, a glass, and then each part, the lid and the base, are upside down on top of that glass. So I have everything mixed up. If you buy paint that's fairly thin anyway, you don't have to add any water. But this was fairly thick, and so I needed to add some water to it. And I'm going to use another cup, and I'm going to just start pouring all of the different colors into that cup. I'm not stirring it. That blue looks a little bit thick still, but it'll be fine. And you get to decide as much or as little as you want. Like, I don't put very much black in, but I do like the way the black contrasts the color. So I have some of it. I usually use more yellows and whites than I do the other colors. That white's a little thick also, but it'll be okay. So we're going to move those cups out of the way so you can see what's happening. Move it a little bit closer. And I'm just going to pour it onto which is the bottom of the base. And then gravity is just going to do its work. And it's going to start moving those colors. Now, the nice thing about it is you're not going to pour all of it on. So if you wanted to add maybe some more yellow, some more reds, after it starts running, you can certainly do that. See how I'm just going to drizzle some on there? And it's just movement. And it is just a fun process. And kids will absolutely love this. And it's a great way for them to make like a jewelry box. In fact, I'm going to turn this into a jewelry box for my granddaughter, Neasa. She just had her birthday. And I'm just adding some more colors. I'm just letting gravity work. And it's just running over the sides. And that's exactly what I'll do with the lid also. And as it moves, it changes. And that's what I want. I want a lot of color, a lot of movement, and it's just lovely the way it works. Now here is the lid. And it's looking nice. I'm liking what the base is looking like. But then I'm going to add just some droplets of other colors too. Now if it gets too thick on the base, just slide it over and make more come off the sides. But I'm going to just dribble a couple little dots different places just to add more contrast. And you can see it's just dripping into the pan, so that's an excellent reason to have these little foil pans that you can get at the dollar store. Now you can leave it and just let it run just like that. But I like to do some other stuff to it. But see those beautiful colors that are down in that aluminum foil pan? I'm going to use that paint later, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. Because I don't want to waste it and just throw it into the trash, because it's great mixtures of color. So let's make it a little more spectacular. So you can see where I put the dots. I'm taking a toothpick, and I'm just going to start to swirl it. I'm just going to make it move more. And that way you have a little more control, because you could use a chopstick, a paintbrush, anything you want to do. But it just makes it a little more interesting and whimsical, fun. And so I'm going to do it not only on the bottoms or the top, depending on which one you're doing. I'm actually going to do it on the sides also. See, and I'm just swirling it more. The toothpick works really good. Though if you want a little bit bolder, you can also use a toothbrush, and that can give you some really fun designs. See how you can just move it? Because the paint is really wet still. It is still moving with the gravity. And I really like that you get to look at it, see if you want to add some more color, if you need to tilt it. Anything you want to do, you can still do it because there's so much paint moving. It's just a great project. Now, if you get to a side and you think it's too dark or it's too light, of course you can add. Or just tilt it again because there's a lot of paint on top still. And see how that completely changes not only the side, but it changes the way the top looks too. I just find this whole project just so fun. Now, I'm happy with the way it looks, but I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm just running it along the edges so it just catches some of those drips, because I don't want anything to dry on those sides and then I have to either pry it off or sand it off, and a toothpick just works great. Anything that you can just scrape that edge and it's not going to move anything. See how I can just go right along that edge. Now this right here was a little too dark for me. You know, I'm giving it to Neasa and I didn't want it, I like black in there, but I don't want it to be overpowering. So even though I'm happy with the rest of it, I am going to add some colors on this side. And then I'll use my toothpick again. But you can add as much or as little, let it change. And I find it real easy to just add drops at a time. Let's add a little bit of red too, because I don't want it not looking like it's combined with everything else. And then you can take your toothpick again and swirl it. Now, if you're using something that was not cardboard and you're doing this, something that's more a little stable, if you hate it, just wash it off and start again. But it always seems to work out. You know, you think sometimes, oh, maybe I put too much paint on. It all works out. It may take longer to dry, but it's just spectacular. And I'm really happy with what they're looking like. So I'm just going to let those dry for a little while, probably an hour or two, and then I'm going to come back and use that extra paint because it's really thick and it takes a long time to dry that thick paint. So I'm going to just lift the lid and the base off, and I'm flipping those trays over because I want that paint. And this is just a canvas board. You could use a regular canvas, but I hadn't happened to have this canvas board in the closet, so I thought, that's exactly what I'm going to use. And the paint will just pour right out of there. And if you have a big enough canvas, you can just simply let those drip for a while. But I'm just going to take as much as I can out of there. I tried to make them stand up together, but they didn't want to. So I'm just going to let them drip, and then I'm going to move it around. And see, I still have my cardboard. It's protecting my table. I'm outside, so I don't have to worry about anything. And I'm just going to move it around. All the extra paint that I have, I'm going to try to use up. It will give it a little more boldness to it. And it will stop it from becoming too muddy. And I don't want that. But I do love the way those colors mix together. Then I'm going to take white and any of the other colors I have and just move it around. I'm now taking a chopstick and I'm just flicking some of the white. I want it to kind of go all over the canvas before I make it move. And then I'm going to pour some. See? And we can just move it around. Now this will end up being either just a great painting by itself, or I can let it dry and it can become the background. And that's what I think I'm going to do, is actually make it a background and paint something over top of it. But they're lovely. I just am so happy with them. And I think Neasa will really like her little jewelry box. So here it is. I sprayed a clear coat on it. And so it gives it some shine. I do have to put one more coat on the inside. But other than that, they're completely finished. And I just think she's going to think they're just so beautiful. But this is a fun project for you to do, you and your kids or grandkids. And you can pick them up at the dollar store in lots of shapes. And I made Neasa a little necklace that's a bow. It's out of my fused glass from my other channel, Fused Glass Artwork. And then I put it on a string, which is actually a leather it's made out of leather. And then I just tied it so that she can adjust the length of it. So it can go over her head, and then if she wants it tighter or looser, it'll work fine. I hope you try this. Enjoy.